The silent protocols. The silence was deafening. Commander Sarah Chen stood before the massive view screen at Lunar Station, watching the impossible sight unfold in the darkness of space. The Eternal Dawn, flagship of the mighty Zephyrian Empire, hung motionless among the stars, like a dead whale in an ocean of black. For 3 years, that ship had been the symbol of alien superiority. 12 kilometers of gleaming silver hull, bristling with weapons that could crack planets and shields. That had never been breached. The Zephyrians had arrived with fanfare, declaring themselves the rightful rulers of this sector of the galaxy. They spoke of bringing order to chaos, civilization to the barbaric humans who had barely crawled out of their gravity well. Sarah remembered the first diplomatic meeting. Emperor Cathara had towered over the human delegation, his crystalline exoskeleton catching the light like fractured diamonds. His voice had been melodious yet condescending, each word dripping with the certainty of genetic superiority. "Your species shows promise," he had said, examining the humans like a collector. "Might study insects. In time, you may prove useful as laborers or perhaps entertainers. Your crude emotions amuse us." The negotiations had collapsed within hours. The Zephyrians demanded total submission. Earth's answer had been simple: no. What followed was a cold war of posturing and threats, with the massive alien fleet hovering just outside Earth's system like vultures waiting for carrion. But now, something had changed. The fleet's communications had gone dark 3 days ago. One by one, their ships had begun drifting, their engines silent, their lights dimming, and at the center of it all, the great Eternal Dawn sat powerless, its hull already showing signs of atmospheric breach. "Ma'am, we're picking up distress signals," reported Lieutenant Kim Rodriguez from her station. "Weak, intermittent, but definitely Zephyrian in origin." Sarah nodded grimly. "Any response to our hails?" "Negative." "Whatever hit them, it hit hard and fast." Double quotes. Dr. Marcus Webb looked up from his analysis console, his weathered face grim. "Sarah, I'm reading massive quantum fluctuations from their position. Their power cores are destabilizing. If my calculations are correct, we're looking at a cascade failure that could take out everything within a light-year radius." The bridge fell silent except for the hum of electronics. Sarah felt the weight of command settle on her shoulders like a lead blanket. 3 billion Zephyrians aboard that ship. 3 billion lives of a species that had considered humanity little, more than clever animals. "How long do they have?" she asked quietly. Webb ran his hands through his grey hair. 6 hours, maybe 8 if they're lucky. After that, their quantum cores will breach containment. The explosion will make a supernova look like a firecracker. Sarah closed her eyes and thought of her daughter back on Earth, playing in gardens. That might be nothing but radioactive dust if those cores exploded. She thought of the Zephyrian children aboard that dying ship, innocent of their leader's arrogance. Most of all, she thought of what it meant to be human. "Rodriguez, prep the shuttle bay. Webb, gather your team. We're going aboard." The command deck erupted in protests. Lieutenant Commander Hayes stepped forward, his face flushed with anger. "Commander, with respect, these are the same aliens who threatened to glass our cities. They made it clear they consider us insects. Why should we risk our lives for them?" Sarah turned to face her crew, and for a moment she saw herself reflected in their eyes. A middle-aged woman from the slums of New Detroit who had clawed her way up through merit and determination. A human who had been told she wasn't good enough, smart enough, or strong enough more times than she could count. "Because that's what makes us human," she said simply. We don't abandon people to die, even our enemies. Especially our enemies. That's not weakness, it's strength. It's what separates us from the kind of species that would watch others burn and call it justice. The protests died away. Hayes lowered his head and nodded slowly. Understood, ma'am. What are your orders? 3 hours later, Sarah found herself in the cramped shuttle Prometheus, watching the eternal dawn grow larger through the forward viewport. Up close, the damage was even more apparent. Hull breaches leaked atmosphere into space like bleeding wounds. Emergency lights flickered desperately along the massive ship's length, and debris drifted around it like the scales of a dying dragon. Jesus, whispered Rodriguez from the pilot's seat. What could have done this to them? Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Webb was hunched over his portable scanner, frowning at the readings. That's just it, Kim. I don't think anything did this to them. I think they did it to themselves. Sarah leaned forward. Explain. Their power systems are incredibly advanced, but they're also incredibly unstable. They're using quantum entanglement to generate massive amounts of energy, but they're doing it in a way that's fundamentally flawed. It's like building a house of cards in a hurricane. Sooner or later, it was bound to collapse. You're saying their superior technology has a fatal flaw. More than that, I'm saying they built their entire civilization on top of a ticking time bomb. Every ship, every city, every piece of technology they have uses these quantum cores, and if one fails catastrophically, it can trigger a chain reaction that destroys them all. The shuttle shuddered as it passed through the eternal dawn's failing shields. Warning lights bathed the cabin in red as they approached a damaged docking bay. Through the viewport, Sarah could see Zephyrian figures in emergency suits working desperately to seal hull breaches with what looked like metallic foam. They're trying to patch the leaks with temporary sealant, Rodriguez observed. That won't hold for long. It doesn't need to, Sarah replied. It just needs to hold long enough for us to get aboard and figure out how to help them. The docking was rough, the shuttle's hull scraping against twisted metal as they settled into the bay. Emergency fields flickered to life, providing a breathable atmosphere, but Sarah could see stress fractures running through the bulkheads like spiderwebs. As they disembarked, a group of Zephyrian soldiers approached with weapons drawn. Their leader, a tall figure whose crystalline exoskeleton had been cracked and hastily repaired, spoke in halting English. You are ... humans. Why are you here? Have you come to witness our destruction? Sarah stepped forward, her hands visible and empty. I'm Commander Sarah Chen of Earth Defense. We detected your distress signals and came to help. The alien's multifaceted eyes seemed to study her for a long moment. Help? You would help us? After what we ... After how we treated your species? Yes, Sarah said simply. Because it's the right thing to do. The alien lowered his weapon slowly. I am High Admiral Zextai. Our Emperor requires immediate assistance. The quantum cores are failing, and our engineers cannot stabilize them. We have perhaps 4 hours before total cascade failure. Webb stepped up beside Sarah, his scanner already active. Admiral, I need to see your power generation systems. My readings suggest the problem is in your quantum entanglement matrices. We might be able to help, but I need access to your core. Engineering sections? Zextai hesitated. Those areas are classified. Outsiders have never been permitted. Admiral Sarah interrupted gently. Your ship is dying. Your people are dying. Classification protocols aren't going to save them. We might not be as advanced as you, But sometimes a fresh perspective can see solutions that expertise misses. The Zephyrian's shoulders sagged in what Sarah recognized as defeat. "Follow me," he said quietly. "The Emperor is in the primary engineering section, trying to coordinate repair efforts personally." As they made their way through the ship's corridors, Sarah was struck by the alien architecture. Everything was built on a grand scale, with soaring ceilings and graceful curves that spoke of a species that valued beauty as much as function. But now that beauty was marred by emergency patches, flickering lights, and the acrid smell of overheated electronics. They passed groups of Zephyrian civilians huddled in emergency shelters, their fear palpable despite the language barrier. Children clung to adults who tried to project calm while their world literally fell apart around them. Sarah felt her resolve strengthen. These weren't conquerors or tyrants. These were people, no different from humans in their fundamental needs and fears. The engineering section was a cathedral of technology, with the quantum cores suspended in the center like artificial suns. But even Sarah could see that something was terribly wrong. The cores pulsed erratically, their light flickering between brilliant white and ominous red. Streams of exotic particles leaked from containment fields that sparked and wavered with each surge. At the center of it all stood Emperor Kithara himself. The being who had once seemed so impossibly regal now looked haggard and desperate. His exoskeleton was scorched from radiation exposure, and his movements were unsteady as he barked orders at teams of engineers who worked frantically at control consoles. He turned as they approached, and Sarah saw something she had never expected to see in those multifaceted eyes: humility. "Humans," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "You came, even after... ... Why?" Sarah met his gaze steadily. "Because leaving you to die would have made us less than human. And being human is the most important thing we have." For a moment, the Emperor seemed unable to speak. Then he gestured helplessly at the failing cause. "Our greatest achievement has become our doom. The very technology that made us masters of the stars is now destroying us. Our engineers say there is no solution. The cascade cannot be stopped." Webb had been studying his scanner readings, and now he looked up with something approaching excitement. "Actually, Your Majesty, I think there might be a way, but it's going to require us to work together, and you're not going to like the solution." Kithara's eyes widened. "You have found something our greatest minds missed." "Sometimes the best solution is the simplest one," Webb replied. "Your quantum cores are incredibly sophisticated, but they're also incredibly fragile. You've created a system that's so complex it can't handle its own energy output. But what if we don't try to fix the complexity? What if we bypass it entirely?" Sarah could see where this was going. "You want to replace their quantum cores with human technology. Fusion reactors," Webb nodded. "Simple, reliable, and stable. They won't give the Zephyrians the massive power output they're used to, but they'll keep this ship and its people alive." Emperor Kithara looked stunned. You would share your technology with us, even though it means reducing our capabilities?" Sarah smiled grimly. "Your Majesty, right now your capabilities are about to be reduced to zero. I think a working fusion reactor beats a quantum explosion, don't you?" The next hour was a frantic race against time. Human and Zephyrian engineers worked side by side, jury-rigging fusion reactors from the shuttles, spare parts, and the Eternal Dawn's abundant raw materials. Language barriers dissolved in the face of shared technical knowledge, with diagrams, and equations serving as a universal tongue. Sarah found herself working directly with Emperor Cathara, the two of them crawling through maintenance shafts to install bypass systems. The proud alien leader who had once demanded humanity's submission was now taking orders from a human engineer, and he did so without complaint. "Commander Chen," he said as they secured a particularly complex junction, "I must ask, why are you doing this? Your species could simply wait for us to destroy ourselves and then claim this sector of space. It would be strategically sound." Sarah paused in her work and looked at him. "Your Majesty, do you have children?" The question seemed to surprise him. "Yes, 3 offspring, all aboard this vessel. So do I, a daughter, back on Earth. When I think about the kind of galaxy I want to leave for her, it's not one where species stand by and watch each other die. It's one where we help each other survive and grow, where we're better together than we are apart." Cathara was quiet for a long moment. "We judged your species as primitive because your technology seemed crude compared to ours. But perhaps we were measuring the wrong things." "Technology isn't what makes a species great," Sarah replied. "How they treat others is what makes them great." As the final connections were made and the fusion reactors came online, the failing quantum cores were carefully shut down and jettisoned into space, their destructive potential safely dispersed into the void. The eternal dawn's lights flickered, dimmed, then stabilized as reliable fusion power flowed through its systems. Standing in the engineering section, watching Zephyrian and human technicians work together to bring damaged systems back online, Sarah felt a profound sense of satisfaction. They had done it. They had saved 3 billion lives, and, perhaps more importantly, they had shown that 2 species could rise above past grievances to build something better. Emperor Cathara approached her, his posture different now, no longer the arrogant ruler, demanding submission, but a leader who had learned the value of humility. "Commander," he said formally, "the Zephyrian Empire is in your debt. We came to this system as conquerors, and you have saved us as friends. How can we ever repay such kindness?" Sarah smiled. "By remembering this moment, Your Majesty, by remembering that strength isn't about who has the biggest weapons or the most advanced technology. Real strength is about who you become when everything is falling apart." When Giants Fall, the rebuilt Eternal Dawn was a different ship than the one that had arrived 3 years ago. Gone was the arrogant display of overwhelming power, replaced by a vessel that hummed with reliable fusion energy and the quiet efficiency of cooperative engineering. Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck, watching human and Zephyrian crews work together to install the final upgrades to the ship's systems. It had been 6 months since the quantum core crisis, and the transformation had been remarkable. The Zephyrian fleet, once a symbol of galactic domination, had become something unprecedented, a genuine partnership between species. But the real test was yet to come. Emperor Cathara joined her at the viewport, his crystalline exoskeleton now bearing proudly displayed repair scars from that desperate day when he had crawled through maintenance shafts alongside human engineers. He had refused regenerative treatment, saying that the marks reminded him of an important lesson. "The Galactic Council has responded to our request," he said quietly. "They will see us in 3 days' time." Sarah nodded grimly. The Galactic Council represented 17 different species, many of whom had watched the Zephyrian Empire's expansion with growing concern. When news had spread that the mighty Zephyrians had been saved by the supposedly primitive humans, shock waves had rippled across known space. Are you ready for this? Sarah asked. They're not going to be happy about the power shift. The Zephyrians were the galaxy's enforcers. Now you're partners with the species they considered barely above animals. Kithora's mandibles clicked in what Sarah had learned was the Zephyrian equivalent of a rueful laugh. Ready, Commander? A year ago, I believed my species was destined to rule the galaxy through superior technology and inherent supremacy. Now, I know that our greatest achievement was learning to ask for help. I am not certain anyone can be ready for such revelations. Dr. Webb approached from across the deck, his tablet displaying complex energy readings. Sarah, the new hybrid systems are performing beyond expectations. The Zephyrian gravity manipulation, technology combined with our fusion cores, is creating efficiency ratings we've never seen before. We're not just keeping their ship running, we're making it better. Better how? Kithara asked with genuine interest. Webb's eyes lit up with enthusiasm. Your quantum cores were incredibly powerful, but unstable. Our fusion technology is stable, but limited. Together, we've created something that has the best of both. Reliable, massive energy output with built-in safety protocols. The hybrid cores can't cascade fail because the fusion component acts as a stability buffer. Sarah felt a smile tug at her lips. So you're saying that human and Zephyrian technology is literally better together than either could be apart? Exactly. And that's not even the best part. Lieutenant Rodriguez has been working with their navigation teams, and the applications are incredible. As if summoned by her name, Rodriguez appeared, practically bouncing with excitement. Commander, you have to see this. The Zephyrians have been using quantum tunneling for faster-than-light travel, but it's been limited by their power stability issues. With the new hybrid cores, we can maintain stable wormholes for extended periods. We're talking about interstellar travel times reduced by 90%. Kithara looked thoughtful. Such technology would revolutionize galactic commerce and communication. No longer would distance be a barrier to cooperation between worlds. Which brings us back to the council meeting, Sarah said. They're going to want to know what this partnership means for the balance of power in the galaxy. High Admiral Zek joined their group, his bearing still military but now tempered with a respect that had been entirely absent during their first encounter. Commander Chen, if I may. The Council's concerns are understandable but misguided. They fear that the Zephyrian-Human alliance will become a new imperial power. They do not understand that we have learned the opposite lesson, which is prompted, that true power comes not from domination but from cooperation, not from forcing others to serve your will, but from discovering what you can achieve together. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from the bridge. Captain Tavara, a Zephyrian officer who had become something of a protege to Sarah, appeared on the wall display. Commander, Emperor, we are receiving a priority distress signal from the Outer Rim. A colony ship, the Harmony's Dream, reports catastrophic system failures. They have 3,000 colonists aboard and are requesting immediate assistance. Sarah and Kithara exchanged glances. Species? Sarah asked. Human, ma'am. They were. En route to establish a settlement in the Kepler system when their main drive failed. They're drifting in interstellar space with life support failing. How long to reach them with conventional drive? Kithara asked. 14 hours, Your Majesty. Their life support will fail in 6. The silence stretched for a moment before Sarah spoke, not with conventional drive. Rodriguez, how long with the new hybrid wormhole system? Rodriguez checked her calculations. 47 minutes, including preparation time. Kithara straightened. Then we go. immediately. Your Majesty, Zextai interjected carefully, the council meeting will wait. Cathara said firmly, 3,000 lives hang in the balance. The council will understand, or they will reveal that they are not worthy of our respect. The rescue mission showcased everything the human-Zephyrian partnership had become. The Eternal Dawn's new hybrid drives opened a stable wormhole that delivered them to the stranded colony ship in record time. Human engineering teams worked alongside Zephyrian technical specialists to diagnose and repair the failing systems. Most importantly, both species worked together to evacuate the most vulnerable colonists while repairs were underway. Sarah found herself working in the colony ship's cramped engine compartment with a mixed team of human and Zephyrian engineers. The problem was complex, a cascade failure in the ship's older fusion systems that had created a feedback loop threatening the entire power grid. It's similar to what happened to your quantum cores, she told Tesh, a young Zephyrian engineer. The system is trying to regulate itself but creating more instability with each correction. Tesh manipulated the diagnostic display with practiced ease. Commander, if we isolate the primary feedback circuit and install a buffer using stabilization technology, we can break the loop without shutting down life support, Sarah finished. Brilliant. Let's do it. Working together, they managed to stabilize the colony ship's systems within 3 hours. The grateful colonists were able to continue their journey with upgraded hybrid technology that would prevent similar failures in the future. But the real impact came when they returned to face the Galactic Council. Word of the rescue had spread rapidly, and the 17 species that made up the Council found themselves confronting a new paradigm. The Council Chamber was an impressive structure, built on the neutral world of Nexus Prime. Representatives from across the galaxy sat in a great circle, their varied forms creating a mosaic of galactic diversity. At the center, Sarah and Cathara stood together before the Council's judgment. The Altarian representative, a tall humanoid with silver skin and luminous eyes, spoke first. Emperor Cathara, your species once claimed the right to rule through superior might. Now you stand as equals with a species you previously dismissed as primitive. Explain this transformation. Kithra's response was measured and thoughtful. Honored Counselor, we claimed superiority based on technological advancement, but we confused complexity with effectiveness, power with wisdom. The humans taught us that true advancement comes not from what you can take, but from what you can give. The Crystary representative, a being of living mineral, chimed in with a voice like wind through stone caverns. Yet this partnership has created capabilities that exceed either species individually. How do we know you will not use this advantage to dominate, as the Zephyrians once attempted? Sarah stepped forward. Because domination requires someone to be beneath you, and we've learned that everyone is stronger when we lift each other up. The hybrid technology we've developed isn't a secret weapon. It's a gift we want to share with any species willing to work together. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The offer to share advanced technology freely was unprecedented in galactic politics. The vegan representative, an aquatic being speaking through a translation interface, raised a concern. Commander Chen, your species was threatened with extinction by the Zephyrian Empire. Why should we believe you harbor no desire for revenge or dominance? Sarah felt the weight of the question. It was the same doubt she had faced from her own crew months ago, because revenge is a luxury we can't afford. The galaxy is vast and full of challenges that no single species can face alone. We can waste our energy fighting each other, or we can combine our strengths to face the unknown together. Emperor Cathara added, "The rescue of the Harmony's dream demonstrated this principle. Human compassion and Zephyrian technology, working in harmony, saved 3,000 lives in a way neither species could have managed alone." The debate continued for hours, but Sarah could see the tide turning. The council members were beginning to understand that the human-Zephyrian partnership represented not a threat to galactic stability, but a new model for interspecies cooperation. The final vote was unanimous. The partnership would be recognized and supported, with the hybrid technologies being shared freely among council members. More importantly, the rescue protocols developed during the colony ship crisis would become the foundation for a new galactic emergency response network. As they left the council chamber, Cathara walked beside Sarah in comfortable silence. Finally, he spoke. "A year ago, I stood in this same chamber demanding recognition of Zephyrian supremacy. Today, I helped establish a network of mutual aid that spans the galaxy. The change is ... remarkable." Sarah smiled. "Change is what we do best. Humans have been adapting and improving for our entire history. The trick is knowing when to change and when to hold onto what matters. And what matters, Commander?" "Each other," Sarah said simply. "The connections we make, the trust we build, the willingness to help when help is needed. Technology makes us powerful, but relationships make us strong." 6 months later, Sarah stood once again on the observation deck of the Eternal Dawn. But now the view was different. Instead of one ship, she looked out at a small fleet, human vessels working alongside Zephyrian craft, with newer ships of hybrid design that incorporated the best of both technologies. The Galactic Emergency Response Network had been activated 17 times in its first 6 months, saving countless lives and preventing 3 potential wars through rapid humanitarian intervention. The hybrid wormhole technology had reduced travel times so dramatically that distant worlds no longer felt isolated, and trade between previously separated species had flourished. But perhaps most importantly, a new generation was growing up, seeing cooperation as normal. Human children played with young Zephyrians in the ship's educational facilities, learning each other's languages and customs as naturally as breathing. Emperor Cathara joined her at the viewport, a routine they had maintained throughout their partnership. "Commander, I have received word from the Outer Rim. 3 more species have requested to join the response network. Excellent news. Any concerns about integration?" "None. They have seen what we accomplished together and wish to be part of something larger than themselves." He paused thoughtfully. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we had not suffered the quantum core crisis? If first contact had proceeded according to our original plans?" Sarah considered the question seriously. "I think about it sometimes. Your species might have conquered Earth, or we might have fought a war that devastated both our civilizations. Either way, the galaxy would be poorer for it, indeed. Strange to think that our greatest failure became our greatest success." "Not strange at all," Sarah replied. "That's very human. We've always been at our best when things are at their worst. And apparently, Zephyrians learn the same way." Kithara's mandibles clicked in amusement. "Perhaps that is what makes us such effective partners. We both understand that true strength comes not from never falling, but from how we help each other stand back up." As they watched, a new ship approached the fleet, a vessel of unknown design carrying the first diplomatic mission from the distant Andromeda galaxy. First contact with an entirely new realm of species, and this time, they would meet not as conquerors or potential enemies, but as partners in exploration and friendship. Sarah felt a familiar thrill of anticipation. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, and humanity would explore it not alone, but hand in hand with friends who had once been enemies. It was, she thought, a very human way to reach for the stars. The day the stars had gone silent had marked the end of one chapter in galactic history. But as Sarah, Chen, and Emperor Cathara stood together, watching representatives from Andromeda approach their combined fleet, they knew they were writing the first pages of something far better, a story of species choosing cooperation over conquest, friendship over fear, and hope over hatred. In the end, that choice had made all the difference.